This evil anti-Semitic attack is an assault on all of us. It will require all of us working together to extract the hateful poison of anti-Semitism from our world. The scourge of anti-Semitism cannot be ignored, cannot be tolerated, and it cannot be allowed to continue.
Well, that's the President of the United States at a rally on Saturday night. He said he did not cancel the rally because he said if he did, it would make sick, demented people important.
He did have a pastor and he had a rabbi up on stage with him, called them just before he headed over to Indiana to give a message to the people and a prayer.
And keep in mind, Ainsley, when Benghazi happened, we didn't even know who was alive, who was dead, and who perpetrated the crime. And President Obama flew across the country to a Las Vegas rally. So for those people who want to condemn the president for doing a normal rally that was already on the schedule, there you go. Meanwhile, 26 minutes after the hour, let's bring in Kellyanne Conway, counselor to the president. Kellyanne, first off, this weekend, a horrific, on the heels of the bomber and the mystery behind it. Thankfully, no blasting caps, so nothing was exploding, but the bombing making materials. We have this synagogue shooting. Bring us inside the White House. How did you hear? What did you do?
Well, it's very important is what the president has done. He denounced anti-Semitism in all forms. He said we must rise above this evil. He's called for the death penalty for this murderer in Pittsburgh who gunned down 11 innocent people because of their faith. And he said the word and anti-Semitism, anti-Semite, any number of times. And that's really the lesson from Pittsburgh, everyone. I can't believe on these shows yesterday and over the weekend, people are politicians pointing the finger, media making it about themselves. Cut it out and recognize that this man went in there to, quote, kill Jews. And that has got to be the lesson, certainly a lesson to my 4 school-age children, that there's evil in this world and that people were gunned down because of their faith, because of their Jewish faith. And a year and a half earlier, Steve Scalise almost lost his life crawling across the outfield in his own blood because that person was coming there to, quote, hunt Republicans. You've got to call it what it is. This president is asking us to rise above it and asking us to come together and unify as a nation. And anybody who's saying he isn't listening.
Well, you know what they were saying yesterday, Kellyanne? They were saying that the president's rhetoric was responsible for the rise of political violence, just raising the temperature in America.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate. And I went back and looked at a big compilation of comments that are made on other cable networks routinely. The chyrons, the comments. I won't even repeat the insults because it gives them oxygen and gives them much higher ratings that they would also otherwise get in their own shows. But the kind of rhetoric that is said day in and day out about this White House, the people who work here, the president, the vice president, their families, it's got to stop. And this president, every time there's been a major crisis or shooting or natural disaster, has shown up. He has spoken out about it, and he has always called on us to unify. And anybody who's not listening, look, Marsha Blackburn asks for a moment of silence in the middle of a political rally, and people are screaming during the moment of silence, screaming, by the way, epithets and things that aren't true about her. And yet being disrespectful to the 11 people who lost their lives. You've got people constantly making comments about Nazism, Nazi Germany. This president is turning us into, somebody from CNN tweeted out a picture of concentration camps when the migrants were trying to come over the border earlier this year. That's got to stop. And then we have 11 dead men and women. Their names should be lifted up today. You want a lesson from all this? Teach your kids about anti-Semitism, the evil in the world, because they were Jewish, and remember their names and their service. I love reading about these people. That's what needs to be done today. But you know, the media brings themselves into everything. It's always about them, and it's always about President Trump. In this case, the president is leading the country to heal, and he said it many times during that speech. They complain, they don't like the way he pronounced the word. They don't like how he said it. It was 5 minutes too late. He should have said it on Twitter first. It was 18 seconds too early than what they expected. Cut it out and listen carefully because everybody else is listening.
I like what you said about learning about these people. Daniel Stein was 71. He had
Beautiful
just become
people
a grandfather.
Of service.
Yeah, you had a husband and a wife, 86-year-old and 84-year-old. They were married in the Squirrel Hill synagogue. You had two brothers that were inseparable. So many stories about all the things they had done to help other people. One guy did taxes for a living as an accountant, and he did another man's girl's taxes every year and never charged his family. So good people, and we do need to remember them.
Keep reading them. And by the way, Ainsley, and I know you understand this very well, the anti-religiosity in this country, that it's somehow in vogue and funny to make fun of anybody of faith, to constantly be making fun of people who express religion, the late-night comedians, the unfunny people on TV shows. It's always anti-religious. And remember, these people were gunned down in their place of worship, as were the people in South Carolina several years ago. And they were there because they're people of faith. And it's that faith that needs to bring us together. This is no time to be driving God out of the public square. No time to be making fun of people. That's right.
All right, Kellyanne, I want to bring you to another topic. President Obama going off and mocking President Trump and others that are concerned about the caravan and the other caravan and others who are storming our borders. We're getting, what, 1,000 a day? He says, now the latest, they're trying to convince everybody to be afraid of a bunch of impoverished, malnourished refugees 1,000 miles away. That's the thing, it's the most important thing in this election. So he's saying he's mocking those who are concerned about impoverished people coming to our border. What do you say to that?
I have no idea why President Obama is out there running these campaigns the way he is. I'm glad he is, because it looks a lot like 2016 when his message was all about Donald Trump. Probably helped to turn up the turnout for Donald Trump in 2016, so thanking him for that. But he's not out there bragging about Obamacare. He's not out there bragging about his tax cuts and his deregulation and him going to meet with Kim Jong-un and get the remains of our fallen from North Korea. He's not out there talking about the denuclearization. He's not out there punishing, sanctioning Russians and punishing Assad when he gasses his people twice. It took him many, many years to make his first trip to Israel. It took this president 4 months into his first term. So let's compare the two presidents any day of the week. Let's focus on what this caravan is and what it is not. The Secretary of Homeland Security was out yesterday on your network talking about the fact that people who are coming here illegal are not going to be allowed in, that we are a generous nation where 33 million people have immigrated legally to this country over the years. You can stand in line, you can file the paperwork, you can immigrate here legally. And if you have a credible fear of asylum, that is considered. But because of these ridiculous court decisions and the inaction, the complete fecklessness and recklessness of the Democrats up on Capitol Hill, we have this crisis. President Obama in 2005 rolled the tape. Boy, different tune then when he was thinking of running for president. Senator Obama talked about illegals cannot come here across the border. We're going to punish any employers who hire illegals. He went on and on and on. Different tune now. But it is fascinating that Donald Trump still lives rent-free in his head, and he's not out there bragging about Obamacare. He's trying to force Medicare for all, which means less Medicare for seniors, and socialized medicine on everyone.
Kellyanne, before you go, 8 days to the midterms, what's the president going to do to keep Republicans in charge of both houses?
The question is, what is the president not going to do? He's just going to barnstorm the country, many different rallies, about 10 or 12 rallies left, multiple stops a day in this last week while he's being president of the United States, his first and foremost responsibility. And he's going to leave it all in the field, run through the tape like he did in 2016, and he's going to go out there and say, I want this person to be in the United States Senate or in the House of Representatives because we have to keep this great economy going, where this is just a down payment on the peace and prosperity that you've seen in the first 2 years. So we know 43 retirements in the House. That's a big hole to dig out of. But the president's going to make it possible. No nonpartisan, sane prognosticator right now is predicting the 63 House seat losses that President Obama suffered in his first midterms in 2010, or even the 54. And by the way, in the last 80 years, I'm told only about 8 Senate seats have gone to the party in power in a midterm election. Everybody knows that the Republicans are going to hold the Senate and probably add to it if you look at all the news reports. So they're going to defy. He's a guy who defies the trends. He's a guy who makes history, doesn't repeat history, and you'll probably see that next Tuesday as well.
Reports that you've given up on the House, true or false?
The president hasn't given up on the House. Of course he wouldn't do that. And some of us I'm being dispatched out on my personal time. The president is out there. The vice president is out there campaigning for House members as well as Senate seats. So people just say that because they hope it's true. Remember, and today's a great day to remind everybody, just because you say it, just because you print it, just because you tweet it, just because you vomit it in talking points all day long on other cable stations doesn't make it true.
All right. A lot of fake news out there. Thanks, Kellyanne. Great to see you this morning.
Have a great day.
Thanks. 10 to 12 more rallies and 8 days left. He's working hard.
He's going to be busy.